All right, let's head to the Midwest. Purdue, Gonzaga, Creighton, Tennessee. Jeff Goodman on Sunday night said Gonzaga had, quote,
Who?
no chance.
Oh,
No
come
chance.
on.
No chance to beat Purdue. No chance. I
That's
feel like
not right, man. That's wrong.
no
No
chance.
chance.
No chance.
I actually love the way Gonzaga's playing right now. I mean, Mark Few doesn't get anywhere near enough credit for going to 9 straight Sweet
That's
16.
unbelievable.
Straight.
That is
9 straight.
unbelievable. That really is a remarkable accomplishment.
You know what you got to do to get to 9 straight
Oof.
Sweet 16s? Play both ends of the floor. Play both ends.
Yeah, they do. They do, and they wore Kansas down. What they did against Kansas was one of the more impressive opening weekend performances in the tournament. What's going right for Gonzaga? Well, Ryan Nembhard sets up his teammates for success. You know, I saw people talk about this over the weekend. Some folks that had coached him in the AAU ranks were tweeting like, when you have Ryan Nembhard on your team, you're going to win. There's a reason why Creighton was within a possession of a Final Four last year. And let's face it, things have come a bit harder for Creighton this year. It's because Ryan Nembhard's not on their team. Ryan Nembhard is phenomenal at setting up Nolan Hickman and Anton Watson. I thought Watson was great, by the way, against Kansas. He's a matchup problem, guys. He can space the floor. He can take you off the dribble. But Graham Ike gave them something good. And then I kind of like what they're getting from some other sources. I mean, on Saturday, Brayden Huff created problems. Brayden Huff will be an X factor to this game. Do you know why? They can run him on pick and rolls, pick and pops.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to make Edey mobile coming out on you. Not mobile getting. A lot of people are mistaking this. They're like, well, you know, if you say Edey's not great in pick and roll, you're not watching him play. He is. He's a quality pick and roll defender. He's able to manage all that.
What people don't understand, this gets me really fired up, is
Ridiculous.
that when you're in drop coverage and you're the big guy and you're the center, right? And T.O., if I say anything wrong here, please correct me. But half of the time, the defense works when the point guard can't get a shot off, right? And it's not going to pop up in the box score. And there's not, like, people want to see how many block shots you can get, how many rebounds you can get, shooting percentages. Like, a lot of times when you come off that ball screen,
hold on. If the point guard just doesn't get a shot, period.
yeah, like what happens is the point guard comes off the ball screen and he's looking for something in the mid range, and you take that away, and then the other point guard gets the defensive point guard gets back to help, and the ball gets kicked out. Like, that means the drop coverage was a success. There's no turnovers, there's no missed shots, there's no block shots, right? But if you don't get anything out of that ball screen and they're forced to do something else, that means the defense worked. If the point guard comes off of a ball screen and does the whole like underneath thing, yeah, but people. When that happens with Purdue, no one is sitting there saying, "Oh wow, Zach, you did a good job defensively there," right? And you don't get credit for that, and it frustrates me when it's very hard to talk about what is happening. It's hard to give credit for something that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, Edey doesn't, and it happens with Kling, and it happens with Calcraft, it happens with a lot of big guys. You don't get credit for the job you do defensively when a shot is not taken, when you're in the right spot and they're not able to get that look, because we celebrate like, okay, he's got 9 blocks in this game. I don't know. It frustrates me when people don't see that. Like, that's part of what makes him good defensively, is you're not able to get those looks in those situations.
Yeah. Well, the reason that you play drop coverage is because you're willing to, if there's one shot you're willing to give up, it's an off the bounce 15-footer. And then you have a rear view contest with the guard coming behind. The thing is Edey's so damn big that, like, even when he's dropping, like, he can cover the roller and the guy that's coming off the ball screen, because he's so big that he can discourage the shot, and he makes that roll pass so difficult, because not only does Edey able to cover the shot, but he's moving his feet quick enough to get back just in case they do throw it. So, like, no, you're right. I mean, that ball continues to move. Everything inside of 10 feet when you play Purdue is shut down. Everything. And he has only gotten better at it. There were a couple times, guys, they played their last game and they were switching. And as a result, like just because there's so many games and my brain's a fog right now, they were playing Utah State, and Utah State has some guys in Ian Martinez and Darius Brown that against other teams, they have their way as far as creating a mismatch and going and scoring. I think Edey gave up one foul on a drive to Ian Martinez. One. And like the fact that he's 7'4" and moving like that, I understand it's a weak draft, but there's a 7'4" guy talking about being picked in the top 20.
Right.
And he's moving well enough for that to be valid and warranted. And I'm a little bit shocked about it. And he's been awesome.
You know, one sentence on this. I'm getting off of this right now. I understand that there are a lot of takes that are saying that this draft class is weak, and understandably so, comma.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not going to let us, for the next 3.5 months, rip apart this class, because at the end of the day, you have to remember that there's kids' dreams coming true. So, like, I think that's going to be a big topic, and I hope that we don't just beat that to death. That's my take.
Well, the reason I say that is there's no Wembanyama. There's a lot of quality. There's a lot of quality NBA players in the draft. There's just not one that's going to average 25 points a game. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's weak that there's not NBA players in there, because there are. There's just no LeBron. There's no, like, that's kind of what people are insinuating. Whenever people talk about a draft class, they're talking about the top 5 picks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because everything else you're just drafting for a piece anyway. If you're not going to get if you're not getting your Kevin Durant, if you're not getting your Nikola Jokic, you're drafting for a piece. All right, let's hit on Creighton, Tennessee real quick, because we haven't talked about that much. How does Creighton slow down Dalton Connect, T.O.? How do you stop him? What do you do?
You load up and make everything contested and hope he has a bad day. I think that's kind of, you have to be overly physical on the drive, make him off balance as possible, but he's still really good. Guys, these games are running together. We watched so much in the Mandalay Bay that was a little dark, and I was having a hard time. What was who'd they play again?
Texas.
They played Texas. So what Texas did was they got up underneath him and they forced him baseline, and they threw a guy at him quick. And you have to have athletes to contest some of his shots, because he's going to get them off. He's listed at 6'6". I wouldn't be surprised if he went to the combine measured and he just happened to be a little bit taller than that. Like, he's he has such a high release point too that he's hard to defend. You hope you can throw length at him. You hope that you can have some of those things. Ryan Kalkbrenner changes the game for them. That's where I'm more positive than anything, because I think Trey Alexander is athletic enough to stay in front. He's physical enough and he plays with an edge enough to where he's going to be able to compete. He can't get in foul trouble, though, because after that, I'm not sure who you throw at him.
No one. Creighton does not ever get. They don't know how to foul. They don't know how to foul. So, like, but
they don't foul.
It's
still a thing. They don't foul, but they have an athlete in Trey Alexander that can stay on him, and then you have that help behind him. That's just like, Edey's going to have a big game to keep Kalkbrenner honest, but Trey Alexander needs to be great defensively. Defensively, and he can be.
I think this is going to be a grinded out affair. I think it's going to be a low-scoring battle. I think that it's going to be one of those ones where it kind of comes down to, if you get 30 from Dalton Connect, or if Baylor Shireman and Trey Alexander are kind of lighting you up. Trey's ability to get to his spot and hit that tough little 12-foot fadeaway is just so good, man. Like, my biggest concern with them this year was whether or not they had someone that could kind of break you down at the end of a clock. And they don't really have someone that can break you down and get to the rim at the end of the clock. But they do have a guy that can get to where he wants to get to and hit a little 12-foot fadeaway. And that might not be the most efficient shot in America, but it works for Trey Alexander.
And they have players who, if they can't break you down necessarily, they can pass it. So at the end of the shot clock in overtime on Saturday night against Oregon, by the way, I want to give a hat tip to Dana Altman. I thought he did a brilliant job with his team down the stretch this season. They're going to move to the Big Ten. They are going to be a dangerous program in the Big Ten. Oregon, I was really impressed with. Jermaine Cuisinart was absolutely electrifying to watch this past weekend, as was N'Faly Dante. As for Creighton, they when a lot of this reminds me of Jay Wright, great Jay Wright teams. When the shot clock winds down, okay, they seem to relish in it rather than get frazzled. Creighton is like that. Creighton is okay with the shot clock winding down when a defense gets a little bit in scramble mode. Now, you're going to have to be disciplined here. You certainly can't turn the ball over. It's interesting. Tennessee's coming off a game in which Dalton Knecht, Zakai Ziegler, and Jonas Edey combined to shoot 11 for 42 from the floor. 11 for 42. And they won. They should have beaten Texas by 15. They just had a really poor shooting performance. I mean, horrendous. 3 of 25 from 3, and they started 1 for 22 in that game. Creighton, conversely, Trey Alexander goes 7 for 21. They started 1 of 11 from 3, and they found a way to win. So now you have two teams that are coming off far from their best that are going to meet. Is it a tightness? You know, I sometimes worry about Tennessee because it just seems like Rick Barnes' teams get to this tournament and they just don't play to the level that they're fully capable of. You got to shed that here. You've got an All-American in Dalton Knecht. This is it right here. You got a golden opportunity to get to a Final Four. But by the same token, Creighton's got unfinished business. They believe they should have been in a Final Four last year. This comes down to, for me, the point guard position. You know, Stephen Ashworth, when he's on, it changes everything. He took a lot of shots on Saturday night, but guys, he made some cold-blooded threes in that game. And if at some point you got to pick your poison with Creighton. When Alexander and Shireman are backing you in, you're going to leave somebody open. Ashworth, Oregon was willing to let him shoot, and guess what? He made them pay enough. But I couldn't agree with you more. Finally, like Ryan Kalkbrenner, this is the most. Everybody's talking about Caleb Love, okay, and the Caleb Love Bowl, and rightly so. And we'll get to it. But to me, what would excite me as a basketball fan and a fan of centers,
I know where you're going.
Is if Ryan Kalkbrenner meets Zach Edey. Because Kalkbrenner does not foul.
Yes, that will be a fantastic matchup, and it's one that I've kind of circled for this Sweet 16. All right.
Hey, by the way, one quick thing. Underrated defender Jonas Edey for Tennessee is terrific as well. So two of the elite 5-man defensive players in college basketball in that game. It's going to be fun. That's going to be a great game.